Arrived in Italy to study, parlo la lingua italiana perfettamente. Allora, so then I get there and sign up to the university, and I booked through this Australian company, and I'm 25, and he's like, great, I've got some good news for you. You've got you rooming with two 18-year-olds. And I'm thinking, I'm 25, why would I want to room with two 18-year-olds? But you know what, this is mixing it up. I didn't know them, I didn't need to speak to them, they weren't my friends, I could do whatever I wanted to do. Anyway, I met these two girls as soon as I arrived, and they were gorgeous, fantastic. They'd decided we were going to go out to dinner that night. We're staying in this cute little hotel in the middle of Perugia at the University per Stranieri, so it's where all foreigners go to learn Italian. I'm like, perfect, let's go and have a bite to eat. And they said, there's this guy called Mustafa, and he's like the party pusher. And they're like, this great party, and it starts at 10 o'clock, and I'm thinking, 10 o'clock? I'm like, guys, I go to bed at 9:30 at night. There's no way I'm gonna be up, feeling like a nana being the 25-year-old. I said, look, I'll come to dinner with you, but there's no way I'm going to the 10 o'clock. The bus leaves at 10 o'clock, an hour to get to the nightclub. And then, so what, 11 o'clock and I'm meant to start partying? Forget it. So I said goodbye to them at dinner at 10 o'clock, started to walk down the road. By the time I got to the end of the street, the bus starts pulling up. They open the door, they said, come on, you only live once. So I arrive at this nightclub called Etoile outside of Perugia with these two 18-year-olds. And the place has got 1,000 people in it. I'm like, I'm 25 years of age. I'm not gonna queue one, and I'm not gonna line up, and I'm not gonna stand up all night. Like, I wanna sit down and have a drink and be a civilized person. I'm like, girls, follow me. So all the tables are reserved with names on them, right? So I go up, I grab the name, and I just sit on it like this, and I'm pretending it's my table. And so the girls are like sitting down. These two girls can speak Italian beautifully. I can't even speak a word. So anyway, the guy comes over and we're sitting there, and I'm like, oh, I don't even want to get up to get a drink because I'm too worried they're going to steal the table from me. So I'm like, okay, girls, let's just sit here and pretend we know what we're doing, and this is our table and we're so super cool. Next thing you know, a bottle of champagne gets sent over to the table, and they said the champagne, all in Italian, so there's no English being spoken, but to the two girls that can speak Italian. But I got the gist. They pointed over to this guy and they said the champagne is from that gentleman over in the corner, and I sort of looked over and waved, being super cool. Drink the glass of champagne, and then another bottle comes over. We've drunk a bottle, and they said, do you mind if he joins you? And he says to one of the girls in Italian and directs it to me and says, is this your table? Do you come here often? And I said, oh, no, we've just booked the table and blah, 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 and, pretending I know everything. And he goes, read the name that you're sitting on. So I get the name out like this, and before I get it out, he goes, it's Balestra. It's for me. This table's for me, Andrea Balestra. And I'm like, oh, like so embarrassed. I'm mortified. Not only have I stolen this table, this guy has now come over, sent us 2 bottles of champagne. Anyway, asked us if we wanted a lift home, and I will never take a lift from a stranger. I don't care if you bought me 2 bottles of champagne. I'm in the middle of Italy, who knows what could happen. So these 2 young girls are like, no, we'll get a lift. I'm like, you so won't, you're getting back on the bus. So by this stage, it's about 2 in the morning, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4. I mean, it's Italy, you're having a great time. People are going crazy. It was probably one of the best nights of my life. Anyway, said goodbye to the guy, hasta la vista, baby, won't see you again, end of story. So wake up the next morning, go to university, walk into a class, do not speak a word of Italian, and the professoressa at the front of the class is only speaking Italian. I look around, there's a speckling of few Chinese, few Germans, few Japanese. It was like, all different nationalities. And I'm thinking, am I the only one in here that doesn't speak a language? And all of a sudden, get back home after being, my first day of class, and there is a bunch of flowers from Andrea Balestra asking if I wanted to go out on a date that night. 1, how would this guy know where I live? 2, how did he know this apartment block? I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this guy's a stalker. Anyway, the girls ended up explaining to me that he thought I was really nice and wanted to be able to send me flowers, so they had told him where I was staying. He left a number, and this is before mobile phones, so I don't know, I must have used the hotel phone, or I can't even remember. I called him up and he goes, would you like to go out to dinner? I'm like, sure, dinner sounds nice. Anyway, ended up going out to dinner. The first night I go out to dinner, he gives me a Baci chocolate and a ring, this incredible blue aquamarine ring. I'm thinking it's fake. I mean, who gives someone a ring on the first night? Anyway, I'm getting off track because I'm meant to be talking about my career, and all of a sudden I'm talking about past ex-boyfriends, which I always do, and my husband's going to kill me. Not that he really cares, because, you know. Anyway, because I married him. So that's what I'm trying to get to, my life story, and I keep getting waylaid and, you know. So I go to Italy, I decide I'm just going to study the language. Sorry, this is a part of it, because I meet this guy. So I meet him and virtually don't go back to lessons. End up spending every day and night partying, but I'm learning the Italian language because I'm out having fun. And I'm unlike the two girls that I went with who could speak Italian really well. They spoke in an Australian accent and they were quite scared to speak. Whereas I wouldn't care. I was quite confident. I was 25 years of age. I would go, you know, go out and I'd, you know, so I was picking up the language. Anyway, my parents would call me and go, how are the lessons going? And although I was 25, we were still a really, really tight family. So I was like, oh yeah, the lessons are going really well. Well, I wasn't lying. They weren't saying how was university going. My Italian lessons were going well, but I was out for lunch every day. And then finally I was meant to go home. And I thought, I'm gonna have to tell my parents that I want to go for another 2 weeks traveling around with this newfound friend of mine. So anyway, I ended up staying for an extra 2 weeks, called my father and explained that I'd met someone. Dad was super, super cool about it. And he's like, that's fine, darling. After 2 weeks, you'll come home. I'm like, yes, I will, but I want to come back and live in Italy. They're like, are you crazy? Come back and think about it for 6 months. Finish off your real estate license, because I was already a qualified valuer. But they said, look, finish off your real estate license, then you've got that behind you. Because I think they thought that if I spent a little bit more time back here, that notion of going and living in Italy would soon wear thin. But of course it didn't. I came back. And I'd already bought my own apartment. I'd rented that out while being in Italy. So I had to totally reestablish my life again. And I decided, you know what? I'm 20 by this stage. I'm, you know, studying in Italy. I'm like, you know, I'm still only 25. I'll go over and live over there for a while. So I literally finished off my real estate license, came back here ever so briefly. Andrea followed me out, and I was back over in Italy. Studied over there, continued my studies. Then after a year realised, look, you're not going to be able to live in Italy. It's just unrealistic. I mean, although Italy is an amazing country, it's not your country. And I think the more you live somewhere, the more you realise the importance of your own country and your own home. And also, I mean, my family was so tight. We had the most incredible upbringing. You know, I'd speak to my sisters 3, 4, 5 times a day. All of a sudden, I found myself never speaking to my family because I knew my family would know that really I wasn't happy anymore over in Italy. I mean, life was pretty good, but when you know that your heart's not there, and it's very, very difficult. I mean, I was in love with someone that lived in another country, and you have to realise that sometimes, you know, I would have to give up everything, and my family were everything to me. And I think if you love someone enough, it's still going to be a difficult life if you did that. So, and I think, you know, I was mature and old enough to realise that you really do need to have someone with the same values and the same upbringing as what you had. So I knew I had to leave Italy, but when you're going out with someone exceptionally possessive and exceptionally jealous, and I'm a really, really strong person, I just didn't know how I was ever going to do that. So it was not that I was in an abusive relationship. Yes, I was in a really controlling, jealous relationship. But it was really, really difficult. I just did not see a way out, a way of getting away. And it's not like, you know, you say to women, oh, why would you go back if you're being bashed and abused? I was never being bashed and abused, but I could never see a way out of this relationship, which is such a bizarre thing, looking back on it now. And so I thought, you know, I was out here at Christmas with my boyfriend, the Italian, and I thought, I have to do it now. I've got my father around me, I've got my family around me. I never once thought he would hurt me over there, but I just didn't know how I was going to get out of this relationship. And that's why I stopped speaking to my family, because I knew that they would know that I was unhappy over there, but I really didn't want them to know that. So it was like the great escape. I mean, it was horrible. I broke up with him 2 days before New Year's Eve. He had to catch a plane back on his own. You know, it was really, really difficult, but I had to do it when my family were there, my dad. I mean, I was 20, you know, 6 years of age. I mean, you know, it's not like I was a baby, but I really had to have that support network around me. So I arrived back in Australia. I still had all my clothes, my bed, my paintings, all my possessions still in Italy. Yes, I was crazy enough to take my bed to Italy and all my artwork and all of my life, which really showed me, because I am a material person in the sense that I love having my things around me. I love photo albums. I love a certain type of blanket. I love I love things. It's not about labels or wanting this. So in order for me to give that relationship the best chance, I had to take my bed over there. I had to take my paintings because I had to feel like my whole self. So it was a pretty big, ballsy move to break up with someone and leave everything behind. So I was basically back in Australia, and my family, I sat them all down. I said, it was a massive breakup. So I said to them, look, in order for me to get over this, can no one mention his name? No one talk about it. I just need to deal with this in my own time. So they're all thinking, yeah, nut job. Like, what sort of person just isn't allowed to mention someone's name, not talk about it? But I had to do that to rebuild my life. So my beautiful apartment, which I'd bought, a few years prior in Rose Bay, I'd rented out. So I couldn't get into my apartment. So I was living on the floor at my sister's house. I didn't have a job. I'd just broken up with a person who I was very, very much in love with. And I had to rebuild my life again. So I went back to what I knew. I loved property and I loved sales. That's what I had studied in. But I'd never actually had work experience in that field.